Hey everyone, welcome back. We have with us Thulani Vereen, one of the baddest in the game, and we were very excited to have her. She's a personal friend of mine, and we just both graduated from Spelman in May. So I will stop talking, introduce her, and then I will hand it over to her to tell us about like all the cool things she's doing as both a dancer and a software engineer. So Thulani Vereen is a full stack software engineer and professional choreographer living in Atlanta, Georgia. She holds a bachelor's in computer science from Spelman College, where she merged her passions for computer science and dance through award winning research implementation projects. Since graduating in May 2020, Thulani has been an artist in residence at the coveted Atlanta Contemporary Arts Center, is currently working as a guest artist with the Georgia Tech Science Art Wonder program, and is a full time software engineer. Thulani is also a co founder of We Are HBCUs Incorporated, which is a 501c3 nonprofit aiming to elevate and connect the HBCU community. From a young age, she has been fascinated with puzzles and what can come about from putting pieces together. She applies algorithmic thought processes from her computer science background to her choreographic process and dance pedagogy. She intentionally uses her dance creations to influence her tech related side projects. Whether it is a performance technology, dance piece, or educational outreach, Thulani Vereen's work aims to provide new ways for engaging with diverse performance spaces and audiences. Thulani hopes to be at the forefront of the technological revolution of the arts by inventing performing arts technologies for dance performance and dance education. In her free time, Thulani enjoys running, skincare, perfect skin, yes, and everything relating to Mariah Carey. I can confirm that. Feel free to learn more about Thulani at thulanivereen.com. And now I will hand it over to Thulani to tell us about all the awesome things she does at this intersection of dance and tech. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Leela, for that introduction. Cool. Awesome. I'm super excited to be here and like just having the opportunity to talk and share today. As I was trying to figure out like what I would talk about, I wanted to hone in on like a definition, and it brought me back to a conversation I had with myself during college of like, what do I want to be like, and how do I want to exist now, and what do I want to evolve into? And so one thought was like, oh, I want to be a principal software engineer, like doing really great things with software engineering. And then another thought was, I want to be a dancer, a professional dancer. And then I could also be a professional choreographer. I could also be an inventor. But then I was like, nobody has time for like all of those definitions if someone says, what do you do or what are you? So I had to like figure out, okay, what do all these things have in common? And why do I choose to put my time into all these things? And really what it came down to was this idea of creating and being a creator. And that's how I arrived at this definition, like putting all these pods, like encapsulating all these different areas into one role, and that's being a creator. And that's what I identify as. And I use that role and that title as a guiding principle to center me in everything that I choose to do, and how I choose to like carry on in my career and do my different endeavors. So yeah, but you know, it was really hard like arriving to that definition and like in figuring out that definition in that like role, I had to think about like where I'm coming from and how I was able to like how I got to dance, computer science, and inventing and all this stuff. So what I'm gonna do today is kind of like talk through how I became a creator, my background in dance, my background in computer science, what I'm doing today and what I hope to do in the future, and some lessons that I've learned along the way. So we're gonna roll it back like, I don't know, like 18 years maybe, to when I was like 4. I was a very shy child, very weird, and just not socially hip. I didn't talk to like anyone. I actually was mute for the first couple of years of my life, so I like literally did not talk. And my mom just put me in dance as a way of like therapeutically and like physically getting out expression since my words weren't coming out. And I sucked. Yeah, I really sucked. I was really bad, really, really bad. But something that motivated me to take my training seriously was respect. So people think that quiet folks like, you know, kind of want to exist in the background and don't want any attention or like, you know, any power. But the truth is that I was just quiet and shy. But I wanted all of that. Like I wanted respect, and I wanted people to listen to me without speaking, and that's where I found the power in like developing a strong work ethic and persevering to become an excellent dancer. And that's what I did. I put in a lot of time in the studio, like arriving like an hour before the first dance class and then staying like 30 minutes after the last dance class, dancing 5 hours each night after school, and then coming home and doing a whole bunch of homework, and really finding like the structure in dance and the structure in training as a way to like, I don't know, thrive and become great. Also, something I really appreciated in my dance education and training growing up was this idea that like I could be objectively great. Like there were people who would kind of like look me over growing up because I was quiet and weird. But I noticed that like if I become really good at this thing, people, you know, people will respect me, and I can just be objectively good. And I found that same concept in school. Again, like socially, it was not it. But what really got me involved in conversations and into spaces was like studying hard and working hard and just being good. And that's why like I really identified with science and math growing up, because I was like, okay, it's objective. It's literally like it's just what it is, and you just gotta like work hard at it and develop the problem solving skill, and it'll come. So that's why I really took to dance and like the sciences and math growing up, because I don't know, it's just it's a really cool idea that if you work hard at something, you can make people notice you. You can make people respect you without having to talk a bunch. So that's kind of like the story of why, you know, dance and science were like naturally things that I took to growing up. So also throughout childhood, I was able to like train at different dance intensives in New York City, and then also go to different science camps in Massachusetts and in Pennsylvania. And I fell in love with, like, for dance, the idea of creating, but also having structure. And I noticed it was the same thing with science. So like here I am, like just growing up, and I'm like, I really love structure and also the opportunity to create and finding the utility in things to create. Because it seemed like creating with my body or building something was a more efficient way of communicating or telling a story than speaking. I don't like speaking. I really hate speaking. So I'm really like happy to be here and like do something that I don't like doing to get better at it, but that's besides the point. So yeah, you know, all throughout childhood, throughout high school and whatnot, dancing a bunch and engaging in like different extracurricular activities for like science. And I was in the robotics club in high school, and like competing in dance, and really just like finding confidence and finding things that motivate me to like exist how I wanted to exist. Because for some reason, a lot of the social norms that were kind of like, you know, determined for a young girl, I just didn't fit into. But through dance and like focusing on like science and math in school, I was like, okay, like I found something that I'm good at, and that I can find confidence in, and be really like just out there about. So yeah, so transitioning from high school into college, I was my confidence got so high, and I was really only confident in dance and in school, but like my confidence was probably too high when I was graduating high school, and I was like, I'm a great dancer. Like I'm only gonna apply to Juilliard for dance. So like I went and I just thought it was going to be mine. I got down to like the last cut of the audition, and I was like, okay, I'm here. Like, you know, I've made it this far. They're not going to cut me. But then I got cut, and I was like, wow, like I never want to do this again. Good thing I have like school, because you know, like that's something that I'm also good at. So I'll just go into that, and I'm never going to touch dance again. So I go to Spelman and I major in computer science, and I just kind of hit the ground running with it. Something about like logic and immersing yourself in logic, and then like using a programming language with logic to like produce an output was really exciting to me. I don't know why, it just was. It's a natural relation to me. So I kind of hit the ground running with that, and I found great mentorship and sponsorship within the Spelman Computer Science department. But because dance is such a part of me and an innate part of my existence, I still found my way to it at Spelman. And I got very involved in the Spelman dance department, where I was able to be a student choreographer, travel with my work to Colby College in Maine, which, you know, looking back on my college experiences, I'm just so grateful that my passions like brought me into spaces that I never thought I would be in. And it's not like you dream about going to these like incredible stages or incredible competitions or incredible internships. It's kind of like you fall in love with doing something dance, you fall in love with doing something programming, problem solving, and you just get there. So like I looked up and I was like, wow, I'm really like a whole junior in college, like being brought up to a whole nother school to talk about my dance pedagogy, my choreographic process, and bringing like other dancers with me and having them display my work at like a gallery at another school. And then like interning at Twitter, I was like, wow, I'm really like interning at a company that has a platform that I'm on probably way too much. Don't follow me on Twitter because I'm on there way too much and you'll get annoyed. But yeah, no, I think, and again, as I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about, like there's something to be said about like identifying what you're interested in, trying to get really, really good at it, and then letting that lead you like serendipitously into places that you probably never even dreamed of getting to. So yeah, like throughout college, I was able to like really thrive in dance and computer science. And my sophomore year, I was like, I am putting so much time into my dance training and the choreographic process. And then also like computer science is already a very demanding major. Like it would probably be more efficient if I were able to combine both of them. I was like, I just need more time. So like if I spend time doing both, then maybe I'll have some time to sleep and do other things. So a couple of friends and I came together for a research project to use use computer science as a tool to aid in the process of storytelling, because that's what I'm most interested in. When I'm choreographing, I'm interested in telling stories of humanity, because like, not to go on a tangent, but we're all dancers. Like dancing is such a primitive and innate aspect of the human experience. Like, you know, hearing a beat, hearing music, you move to it naturally. Now, some people move off beat, but this is the Blackathon, so we're not going to talk about that. No, like I'm interested in showing classical dance, and like the intersection of classical dance with like urban dance, to like other, I don't know, to a broader audience that might feel like they don't identify with it, but show them that, like, you know, this is a very accessible thing that we all do. And the best way that I've been able to do that is to tell stories of humanity. So yeah, tangent, but back to the research project. The whole idea was using computer science as a tool to help me as a choreographer tell a love story. And so we had just finished a workshop with the MIT Media Lab, like the year before our freshman year. And we learned about physical computing, like how a program can exist in the analog world, like the physical world, you know? And so we went through a whole bunch of like different ways that we could do this. And we ended up at the idea of having a bodysuit with LED strips on it, where you can think of each like light in the strip as an array that's accessible, like, you know, as an index in the array. And using that concept, we were able to like come up with complex light patterns that would aid in my movement and also like telling the story. And yeah, I'll show a little excerpt of that on my screen. Okay. So yeah, it's called Light in the Dark, and here's a little section from it. So yeah, that is that. That was a really awesome experience, and I'm so grateful that we were able to do that project, because it's definitely, it showed me that it's possible to combine both, and that's when I really hit the ground running with the idea that I can exist in both worlds and really create some cool stuff by like merging the intersection of, or existing at the intersection of dance and computer science. So I guess fast forward to now, I'm currently a full stack developer at a startup based in Cambridge called Jobcase. I've been here since I graduated, and really what I'm trying to do to kind of zoom out is I'm trying to find opportunities and roles that will sharpen my skills as a developer, as a technologist, so that like eventually and even now, I'll just, you know, have the skills and the exposure to like create a lot of my crazy ideas. So yeah, and then also on the dance side of things, Since I graduated, I've created a short film that's helped me, I guess, get exposure get exposure on the dance scene in Atlanta. So that film kind of helped me get into my first artist residency, which was really nuts. I did it at the Atlanta Contemporary Gallery in Atlanta. And it was really such a crazy thing to like be surrounded by all these like more mature working professional choreographers. And it was such an honor to be among them. And it's really interesting. Like whenever I'm in the dance space, I feel really out of place because I'm like, okay, these people have like trained in the methods of choreography that I haven't really trained in. I just have like the structural dance training, but there's a whole, I guess, there's a whole like area of like choreography that I just haven't learned per se. I just kind of create what I think and create things that tell the stories that I want to tell. So it was really intimidating to be among those people, but they were really interested in my background and my like occupation as an engineer. And then when I'm in engineering spaces and tech spaces, I like also feel kind of out of place because you know, I don't know, it's just a weird experience because when I'm in those spaces, I feel like a dancer. When I'm in the dance spaces, I feel like a technologist, and it's just a weird experience. But yeah, that residency was really awesome, and it got me exposure to the current gig that I'm at now with Georgia Tech, where I'm a guest artist working with Professor Fidele. He's in like geometry, and we're creating a dance film that tells the story of Plato's Cave, and that's premiering at the Atlanta Science Festival in April, so be on the lookout for that. And yeah, that's kind of everything that's going on with me now. Moving forward, like Leela said, I really hope to be at the like revolution of bringing technology to the performing arts. It really feels like people outside of the performing arts don't care about the performing arts. And if you look around at the different categories of life and society, it does feel like the performing arts are, you know, like one of the last few areas to be hit by tech and the tech revolution. So I definitely want to be at the forefront of that, and I'm being very selective in the projects I take on now and moving forward. That will like keep me centered and grounded in that direction of, you know, participating in that revolution and being a pioneer in that revolution. Yeah, so I kind of wanted to end this talk about like my journey and what I want to do and who I want to be with some lessons learned. I am 22 years old and I really don't know what I'm doing sometimes. Like I just kind of go, I try to keep grounded by the idea of being a creator and wanting to be a creator. But there's so much that I'm learning and so many mistakes that I make. But I just wanted to share some lessons that I've learned along the way, and also some points of feedback and improvement that I'm working on for myself, because I think it's important to share those things. So the first thing is aiming for quality of work. Although I feel, you know, kind of lost sometimes existing in dance as an engineer and then existing in engineering as an artist, I think what has kept me afloat and has given me respect is the quality of my work and being relentless about just having a base level of quality that I want like everything that I touch to have. Now, like not everything that I create is exceptional quality, but it's like this iterative cycle of like looking back on the things that I do and then giving myself feedback. So like with this talk, since I know that talking is not my strongest suit, I'm gonna look at this talk, reflect, and give myself some feedback so that the next time I can be a lot stronger. Also, sharing your work is important. Like I was talking about growing up, like I just knew, and it's wrong, but I just knew that if I worked hard and if I was like good, that people would notice me. But I learned later on that that's not like a guaranteed thing. You can't just work hard, create things, and have them be like hidden on the internet or like, you know, in your mind. It's important to share like your creations, even if they're still in progress. There's so much magic in the process of creating an art and creating, you know, or building your next idea. Um, so yeah, share your work. Also, another lesson I've learned is to just create it, like just make it. I'm a very process-oriented person, and sometimes I'll put like so much work into developing the structure and the process and the foundation to do something, and then I'll be like, okay, well, is this actually a good idea? Like, should I actually do this thing? And then I don't know, it's like too much time put up front preparing instead of actually doing. One of my professors and mentors, Dr. Volsi, he would always tell me fail fast and fail early. So it's like if you share your work, if you just create it, just build it, just dance it, then you're gonna get feedback. Maybe you'll fail, but like the earlier and the faster you fail, you know, the more feedback you'll get, and then the next time you do it, it'll be better. And then also is an iteration. So like there have been times where I've been like premiering a work, and I've been like, this sucks. Like this is really really bad. But it's really like, I don't know, getting out of your head and like being open to feedback from the audience and from the people that you work with, from your end users who are using your product that you've developed, and like their opinions matter too. It's not just your opinion. So taking in that feedback, and yeah, that's it. That's all I had prepared. Thanks. I don't know if Leela's gonna come back. Okay.
Oh yeah, I'm coming back. I'm coming back. I just have to pin it to like, yeah. Okay, awesome. Yeah. So of course, like you're my great friend. Like I've known you for like going on 5 years now. So of course I like have to come in and ask some questions because like I have like I saw some of this process myself, right? And then but there's some of that that I actually didn't see. I didn't know that you went to Juilliard and basically you're the badass that you are. You got through all of those rounds of auditions, but then it crushed you. And I think we can all relate to that like, oh wow, like I'm so in love with this. And like there's like that external like rejection of like, oh, and it makes you almost feel like you're not good enough, which isn't necessarily the case. They just had a certain number of slots and like there's other things that played into that, right? But then like you said, you came back from it, right? And you came yeah, I guess you like, yeah, like you said, you came back from it. And so I'm wondering like what was that process like to get back to like having that confidence? Because again, that's just universal. That's something that we can all relate to. And I know I resonated with that as soon as you said that, because that's something I kind of felt in like this semester. And like, yeah. So what's your insight on that?
Yeah, so I realized that my confidence when I was at the point in my life where I was auditioning for Juilliard and finishing up like high school, that confidence was fake, false confidence. It was rooted in the like awards that I would receive from competing in dance and like recognition I would get from mentors and people I really looked up to. So it was all external, like it wasn't really coming from me. And I also realized looking back that I probably didn't love dance at that point. I just loved the respect, like I said, because when you're a kid who gets bullied, like, you know, you really want respect. I think I just loved the respect, and you know, the accolades and the recognition from it. So yeah, like, you know, getting cut at the last round really kind of crushed me. But I think what helped me find real confidence, not false confidence, but like that real confidence at Spelman, was falling in love with dance. There's something about like, I don't know, when you're dancing and performing, you really experience what it's like to exist, because it's a like metaphysical activity where your like mind is thinking, your body is moving, your spirit is like projecting, and you really experience what it's like to just be. And I don't know if a lot of humans get to experience that in their day-to-day lives. And finding that magic of like being in dance is what gave me confidence, because I was like, wow, like I get this gift in this experience where I can just be. And I know that a lot of people don't really get to experience that. And that process of finding being and existence is what gave me confidence, like real confidence in it. So yeah.
Yeah. I like that bit about she saying like just falling in love with it also helps. Cause yeah, I mean sometimes I guess like you said, like people could be doing stuff, but like it's for another reason and not necessarily because they love it. But what I like about also what she said was just like relating it to kind of like taking out like I guess this like white male way of knowing of like rationalism and just being like, look, this is like very like you said, very spiritual almost.
Yeah.
Um yeah, and I also like what you said earlier too about like the humanistic aspect of it. Like I really liked that. And yeah. And so I guess to that end, wait, so I do want to okay, so there's something in the audience that I like that they said. It wasn't like really a question, but it was more so like a comment and I wanted to get your feedback on it because this is actually my friend Joy Naya, who's also a dancer and has been dancing her life. Yeah, and she's also a choreographer and also a dance teacher, also in Atlanta, also. And so I want to know, I want to see, and also if you have anything like any ways tech can be added to like people's dance pedagogy who maybe traditionally would not do it, feel free to like add that as well. But Jonaya says quiet and shy Black women not being given the space to be it to simply be is an interesting study in itself. So to see this intersect with dance is so interesting to her.
Love that. Love that. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. But to kind of like acknowledge and touch on what you were talking about with like including tech into dance pedagogy. I think when I was really trying to find the like intersection of these two, like seemingly like, I don't know, opposing things, I realized that like in my dance training process, it's so algorithmic. Like, you know, you think of the definition of an algorithm, like a step-by-step process to produce some output. That's literally dance training and dance performance. When you're at the bar in ballet and you're taking a plie, which is like just bending your knees, it's a step-by-step process to do it. Like you have to pull up in your hips and then go down while going up and then push away the floor to come up, all while holding your center, maintaining like your posture and like articulating from your back. And I was like, wow, like that's literally an algorithmic process that I'm doing right now to achieve the most basic movement in dance. And that's something that I try to like whenever I teach to young students or even people my age, I try to like include that in it, because often like young Black girls, young Black children in general are like discouraged from going after like classical dance because they're told that their feet are too big, their butt's too big, their body is too like bodacious, I guess, which is like so just, I hate that concept that people even say that. But same thing with tech, like folks aren't really encouraged to pursue like careers in tech and STEM. And so like whenever I teach, I try to include like tech in my dance pedagogy to show that like computer science, you know, can be challenging, but like at the root of it, as a dancer, you're doing an algorithmic process. And if you can understand computer science concepts through a dance lens, then you got it. And you can excel in this very Eurocentric art form, which is dance. But you could also excel in this very, unfortunately, exclusive world of tech. So I don't know if that makes sense, but I try to include both in my dance pedagogy to encourage children that they literally, like, you can do it. You can do both and excel in both. So yeah.
That almost reminds me of when we were like our first year when Dr. Volsey told us to do like break. You and I were working on that, and he was like break down this recipe. It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Everything in your life as an algorithm,
Yeah.
and actually used to research in like computer science education. I think they call it like computational thinking. So like you said, you're just really like instilling that computational algorithmic thinking in your students and saying like, look, it's not even that hard. You do it every day. Like you are like, so I think that's very interesting. And so on that note though of like you said, this intersection between dance and tech, I want to know I guess um like so do you want to do a startup, or like how are you feeling about like that intersection? Like what do you want to do? Like what do you see yourself doing just in that space?
Yeah. So I see myself inventing, like, um, I don't like doing something just to do it. Like, I like having like an idea, and I'm like, okay, how do I get there? Can I like, what can I use to like bring this idea to life? So I see myself creating a series of inventions, and um, in this world, it does seem like the best way to do that would be to have a startup, and a lab or a group of people, where like we're a team, and we like are constantly creating these performance technologies, or like, you know, technologies for dance education. Um, but I just I don't know why, and I need to get over this, but I hate the idea of like just venturing out and and having my own startup. Probably just because it's really scary. But yeah, that's probably the end goal, because it's probably like the best way to go about doing something like that. I just gotta do it. Like I said, just gotta make it, just gotta create it. So yeah.
No, that's fair. Yeah. And so I guess like do you see yourself like um yeah, because I mean, even now you have like a lot on your plate and stuff like that. So I'm wondering, like, how do you like see yourself like working for a couple of years? 'Cause I know people who are like, you know, they'll work for like however many, like, I mean, people retire early. Like, I know people like will spend 20 years at Microsoft and they make a lot of money, right? Because of like the stocks and the bonuses and stuff like that. And they just like, they're like, yep, I'm 49, retiring, bye. You know what I mean? Where
Mm.
that's not necessarily the same in like other industries. Like they're there until like they're 70 or something like that, right? I mean, some people just love their job, but I mean, like you said, sometimes it's like time to start something new. And like you said, it's very scary to take that leap. So are you just like I guess how do you feel about that? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So in these early years right now, I'm being very intentional about taking on opportunities to develop the skills that I need, so that to get me to the point of like, I don't know, just being skilled in both crafts. So like I plan on being a software engineer, you know, and really like just developing like those technical skills. I don't know for how long, because I have like, I support my family, and you know, different responsibilities. But then like, while also like taking up any kind of choreographic and dance opportunity that comes my way. So yeah, I think in these early years, just like staying with software engineering, doing side projects, and then also taking on these different artist opportunities. And then like you said, I really do a lot. I do too much, honestly, in so many ways. um, so, you know, I think right now just working and taking on different opportunities and creating in my like free time. And then when the time is right, when the opportunity is there, that's when I think I would transfer into like making my side projects my full-time occupation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sense. And so I'm wondering, oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I had a question. So one of the questions I had, because I'm sure there's a lot of people who are kind of at the crossroads, right? They're at senior year of high school, and they don't know whether they should pursue a dance career and go to school for dance or go to school for computer science. Maybe they like both equally. So what piece of advice would you give to someone at a younger age who is kind of at that crossroads between art and tech or a technical field? And well, yeah, what would you tell them to do?
Oof. Mm, that's a really hard question. But thanks. I would ask them what they, what they really would want to spend their time. I would ask them, which one of those things would you want to institutionalize? So which one of those things would you want to be in a structured space doing and having to be tested on, having like your GPA tied to that area, like, because that's how I kind of, like, after the whole Juilliard thing, I was like, okay, like, I'm not going to go to another school for dance, because if I want to institutionalize something, it's going to be computer science. It's not going to be dance. So I probably do that. But it's interesting. My brother, he's entering high school, and he's a very skilled trumpet player, but he's also like this crazy, like, he's just crazy in STEM. And he's like, yeah, I kind of want to do, I want to, major in music. And I don't know. I think it's really about, like, I wouldn't say, I'm not one of those people who are like, oh, don't major in art, because I think like majoring in one of those like artistic realms is also like very challenging. But you have to be comfortable institutionalizing your art if you're going to major in it. And I don't think that I'm comfortable doing that, or was comfortable in like high school to college. So yeah.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Nice, nice. Now, I remember in the beginning of your talk, you kind of mentioned the humanistic aspect and everything, how growing up you were kind of a little shy, but then you ultimately branched out and started to get into the things that you were interested in. So I was wondering if you can kind of like, I guess, talk to that aspect of like, stepping outside of the barrier, or stepping outside of like your comfort zone to actually jump into those some of the types of things that you were interested in. I know a lot of people probably have like that similar thought, or they're kind of like scared and like, just kind of hear like your perspective on like what you did, your thought process to that. I think that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I love that question. Because like, I think it's really about finding like what inspire you to like break out of your shell. So for me with dance, it was like, like I just wanted to be really good at it. So it's like, I don't know, like whenever I would perform on stage, all of my shyness would go away, because performing on stage was a means of getting respect. And that's what I was after. And so it wasn't like, oh, like now I'm going to be in front of all these people and I'm so scared. It was like, okay, I've been working hard in the studio for 20 hours a week, and getting on this stage in front of these judges is the only way that I can share what I've been working on and show, like, just show off. So like, I don't know, like thinking about these like things that would kind of break you out of your shell as like a utility, like getting on stage is a utility for me to show off and get adjudications and get respect. And then the same thing with like speaking opportunities and leadership. I never thought of myself as a leader, never like hated speaking in front of people, but some of the work that I've done has caused me to like be in roles of leadership and like speaking engagements. And it's just like, okay, this is a utility. Like I want to get my work out there and I want to get my like name out there. So by speaking to people, like I have to use that as a way to accomplish what I really want. So to kind of boil that all down, identifying what you want, and then just being okay with like a little bit of like being uncomfortable, and just knowing that like getting on stage or whatever your version of that is going to help you get what you really actually want. I hope that makes sense.
Nice. Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool.
I like that. And I was also, okay, so I want to go back to your documentary because we kind of just sped past that. First of all, if there's a way for people to watch it, we would love for you to plug that. We can also put that on like our website also. But yeah, so can you go into a little bit more about like the documentary, and like also what it was like making that, and I guess like the path to get there to even like get to the point where you're like, oh, I should make a documentary. Yeah, so
yeah, so Spelman, my senior year, Spelman reached out to me about like doing a mini documentary on me, on like dance and computer science and what I've done in both. And I was like, okay, sure, cool, like that, yeah, like why not? You can follow me around and we can talk. And it was a really weird experience again. Like I'm I hate talking. I'm really shy, and I like, I don't know. It was just a really weird thing, but I realized that like I needed this to get my like stuff out and to tell my story. And so also it was really affirming to know that like people were interested in what I wanted to do, because I've been up for like many like or different opportunities, and especially like on the science side of things, and I've been rejected or like made it to the last round of something, and people just on the science end don't really like find the value in dance and computer science. So it was really affirming that people or someone cared to go as far as to like document my process and like my creative journey in dance and computer science. So yeah, I mean, I don't really know like what more to say to it, but it was a great experience, and it was really like it kind of showed me where I can take this thing that I'm doing, and also that somebody besides me cares about it. So yeah.
That's awesome. Now we do have a few questions from the audience, or one question I think. So one of the questions is, how can people combine computer science and their passions, their other passions outside of that, and still be effective in in what they're doing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the really cool thing about computer science is that like it's an application area. Like you apply computer science. Like if you think about like your favorite apps and your favorite technologies, it's technology applied to a non-technical area. And so like thinking about your passion, think about like the processes and the whole like your experience of being in that passion, and ways that technology can either optimize those like traditional processes, or ways that technology can further enhance your practice in that passion. And I think like those are great starting points for figuring out how to merge computer science or tech with your passions. But I will say that like my worst projects that nobody liked and that I also didn't like were because I forced it, because it sounded sexy to do computer science and dance, and there was like a lot of attention and eyes on it, and I was like, okay, I have to come back and create another thing, and the next project after that sucked because I forced the combination. So I would just be weary of like forcing your passions to come together, but where it makes sense and where you can see tech optimizing and enhancing some traditional processes or practices in that passion, that's where you can really find that magic. So yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And so there's another question, which is like, yeah, and this is something I ask you all the time, but is it possible to see some of your works combining dance creations and computer science research? Also links if possible.
Yeah. So oh wait, I was about to put my website in the chat on Zoom. But yeah, if you go to my website, like I have a projects tab that's got all of my stuff. I can share my screen real fast now and show you. Oops. Yeah, ThulaniVereen.com on the projects page. This is Amorphous, which is a little bit of tech and dance that I did in a short film. And this is another like physical computing project of like a programmed infinity mirror that I created and danced with. Then this is Light in the Dark that I showed with the LED strips. My other dance tech projects, like I said, a lot of them sucked because they were really forced. So I don't have them on my website. But then I have another like dance project that I was really proud of. And I even have like a little essay on this dance project because this is the first dance project that I used computer science theory to inspire movement. So yeah, you can just take a stroll through my website and check out some stuff there.
I guess it's a scroll and a stroll, but also Lonnie is being modest because that last thing, the dimensions I believe it's called, actually had a packed house. I was there and like yeah, it was packed. It was standing ovation, all of that. So yeah. Yeah, she's definitely been successful in both spaces, despite her modesty. And like I appreciate you, you know, being honest and saying like, you know, sometimes it just doesn't work out. I mean, that's life. That's not even a failure. That's just like, I guess like to be positive about it, a lesson, right? Because it's just one of those things like you said that you learned. You want to make it organic. You want to make sure that like what you're doing is like true to yourself and true to like your crafts because you are a student of the craft on both ends. So yeah.
Yeah.
Does
Thank you
anybody
so
else
much.
have a
Oh, I didn't have any more questions. I was just going to
yeah?
say thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us at our first annual Blackathon. It's really important that to us that we portray a lot of perspectives of not just hardcore STEM, because that's what's often emphasized and focused on, but also the intersection of that and art, which is STEAM, right? So thank you
Mhm.
so much for bringing your perspective.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And I'm so proud of y'all for, doing this whole thing. And yeah, I can't wait for next year.
Definitely, definitely. So, how else, other than your website, how else can the audience connect with you and learn more?
And support.
Oh, go ahead, Leela.
Oh no, I was wondering how also can people like support you? Like, is there a way?
Yeah, so I mean, my website is probably like is really the only place that I have like work going up. I mean, LinkedIn, like we can connect on LinkedIn, and I'm totally open to like folks messaging and connecting. With COVID happening, like there's been a really cool surge of like virtual collaboration. So if anyone out there wants to collaborate or talk through ideas, like my DMs are open on LinkedIn. So definitely hit me up. It's my full name, Thulani Vereen. And yeah, LinkedIn and my website.
Okay, we really appreciate you. Thank you for coming through. This is like an amazing talk, and yeah, I'm going to share this with my students this summer, and we look forward to just sharing this like talk with more people, especially so people can see themselves in this field. I think that's something that like very important. But yeah,
Awesome. Thank you all so much.
Definitely.
Thank
thank you.
you.
Yeah, thank you.